Hey y'all, you cool cats and kittens. It's Carole Baskin from Big Cat Rescue, and I am so sorry that I can't be on your show, Loose Women. This is one I really wanted to do. I just hate that I'm gonna miss it, but I have got to practice. That's why my living room here is completely devoid of furniture, because that's all I do when I'm not in the studio, is practicing here so that we can keep the message about big cats in the public eye. I'm happy that my husband, Howard Baskin, will be stepping in and speaking for me. He is such a wonderful person, and you guys are gonna love him so much, because I love him so much. In fact, when he's done there, I want him back, girls. Yeah, I absolutely want him back. And if you don't send him back, you know, you're kind of like asking for a Baskin.
Now, last week, Linda, Denise and I waited for around an hour for an exclusive interview with Tiger King star Carole Baskin. But, alas, she stood us up and later sent her apologies. Now, sadly, she still can't make it, but this time she has sent her husband Howard along. So Christine, Judy and Jane caught up with him yesterday.
In a world-exclusive interview, Carole's husband joins us now all the way from the Big Cat Rescue in Florida. Hello, Howard. Thank you so much for joining us today. Howard, I mean, 64 million of us watched Tiger King. We all find it completely thrilling and indeed shocking. How was it for you? What was life like straight away off the back of this series?
Well, initially it was extremely difficult. You know, in my mind, Tiger King basically had three overarching lies associated with it. One was that Joe is a sympathetic figure who's a victim. Another one was the way they mistreated Carole, and another one that made her to be the villain. And another one was that sanctuaries like Big Cat Rescue are just like roadside zoos. So, initially we were overwhelmed with hate mail to a degree that I would never have imagined.
And you say just feelings towards Carole. In what way did that affect you, and what was the significance of the backlash as such?
Well, it was enormous disappointment, a feeling of betrayal. The people had told us that they were making a blackfish that would expose the animal abuse, not something that was going to portray Carole as the way they portrayed her. They'd even shown us a trailer and a sizzle reel where Carole was the hero, and there was a screen, a text screen that said, "And there's one woman battling all these horrible men," kind of a thing. And that's not the way it turned out. So there was this shock and disappointment. And then we had to organize our people to deal with, massive social media, negativity. I mean, really crazy stuff. But there's been, that gradually subsided, and there have been some real silver linings. I mean, despite its lack of effort to talk about the animal abuse, people became aware that there's this industry. They became aware that there are these very disreputable characters doing this with the cubs. So there's been, some benefits from it, and some fun things that have come of it later as we've settled down again, afterwards.
Howard, I know we have to be sort of careful legally on this, but how do you feel that Carole was betrayed?
Well, they made her out to be, a home wrecker Pearlie wanted to be on TV, so I told her she could be on for a minute. Okay, go. That she supposedly broke up this marriage and was a gold digger, and that she wants to be the last one standing, which is ridiculous because we've always said we want to put ourselves out of business. And the whole business about, the nonsense about whether she was involved in the disappearance of her husband, they just, turned everything to point toward that. So people believed that. So, it was just very difficult.
At what point did you realise that it had kind of gone wrong, that it wasn't going to be the series that you thought it was?
We didn't realize it till we watched it. We're sitting there watching episode 3 saying, what the hell happened here? So it was a total shock.
And I believe that you just referred there a little bit to the kind of the hate online, but you got death threats as well. Was there a point where you actually feared for your lives?
Well, there's always been that issue dealing with these people. And of course, there was the very serious threats from Joe trying to hire someone to kill Carole. So, we ended up taking additional precautions once the FBI told us and the Fish and Wildlife Service told us about Joe's efforts to hire someone. So,
what sort of precautions?
We put on security around the house. We each started carrying a pistol in our car. When we drove around, we'd be watching, much like on television, when you watch in a movie where someone's watching to see if they're being followed, you would be careful about the cars around you, or if you parked, you would look around to see, is anybody pulling in next to you? We're accustomed to people, when we wear a logo shirt, coming up and, saying hello, and usually, very friendly. Well, now if that person is approaching you saying, hey, you don't know whether that person could be the person Joe hired during that time. So,
Howard, I'd want to ask you, how do you feel about Joe Exotic now, and are you concerned about him being released from prison?
I just don't even want to talk about him being released from prison. He belongs in prison.
But Donald Trump,
if you forget the whole business about hiring someone to kill Carole, look, this is a man, look at the tiger behind me. This is a man who walked up to 5 trusting tigers who knew him, healthy tigers, and just took a shotgun and blew their brains out. If anyone doesn't think he belongs in jail for the rest of his life for that, they have my sympathy.
So
and I don't want to talk about
Sorry, Howard, just about on that, because there is a bit of a groundswell in America, I believe, of trying to get Donald Trump to pardon Joe Exotic.
Could we move on to something else? Could we move on to something else?
Is that too distressing to talk about?
Yeah, well, we understand you're done with that saga as such currently anyway, Howard. Tell us about the sanctuary right now. How are things post-COVID, obviously? I mean, zoos and sanctuaries all over the world have been struggling. How are you doing?
We're doing okay. Initially, it was difficult. The tours, the people who pay to come and see the sanctuary, is about 30% of our revenue typically. So on March 15th, we shut down for tours. So we had to adjust our expenses to be able to operate in the black without that revenue. So, we unfortunately, and it was very difficult, had to lay off half of the staff and cut other discretionary expenses. We've been doing very mission-oriented things like running very successful YouTube ads, the ads that come before you watch a YouTube video about cub petting. Usually when those ads get about a 2% view-through rate, and our ads were getting an 80% view-through rate. So we were influencing people, but it was expensive. So we've, for now, cut those expenses and can operate just on the donations. And our donors have been wonderful, not just in financial support, but just enormous messages of emotional support that have, really been heartwarming and a silver lining in all of this. And despite Tiger King's lack of focus on the animal issues, a lot of people did come away realizing that there is this horrible industry. So that's helped our federal bill, which would solve a lot of the abuse.
Howard, can I just ask you, because obviously Carole's persona online, the messages that she gives out to fans, she's very cheerful, very kind of, up. But how has she been behind the scenes? Because it must have been very hard for her.
Well, it was hard, but Carole is an amazing person, and she is maybe the strongest person I've ever met. She's just, she deals with adversity very well. She's really helped me get less stressed because she just has this philosophy that whatever happens, there's a reason for it happening, and it's going to turn out for the best. It's supposed to happen that way, and you just roll with it. So, I'm the one who has to, calm myself down, and being with her helps.
So, Howard, you speak so passionately about your wife. I would want to ask you, was it like love at first sight? Was it love at first sight? What is it that you just love about her?
Well, it was not love at first sight. At my end, she claims it was at her end. I didn't call her for 3 weeks after we met her to ask her out. And there's a whole story behind that that's too long for our show now. But the things that really drew me to her, I mean, one was just integrity. We talked early on about honesty, and in the early part of our dating, she told me about something related to someone that she didn't have to tell me. I never would have known and could have run me off, but she felt it was important to tell me. And so that was impressed me. The other thing I love is...
Sorry to interrupt, Howard. We're looking at your wedding photos there. Interesting choice of outfit.
Well, I'm not going to be getting any jobs at any designer anytime soon, I don't think, as a result of it. But the deal there was that we decided to have a quiet little wedding, just 6 people, including us, at the beach. And I thought, you know, we have to make this memorable. So I ordered this caveman outfit. And when it came time to walk down to the beach from the house, I said, look, we're doing things non-traditionally. Usually the groom is waiting for the bride. You 5 go down to the beach, and I'm going to decide if I'm really going to do this, because it was my first marriage at age 54. And then I changed into the outfit, went down, and of course we had fun with it and got the pictures. And indeed, it has turned out to make it memorable.
OK. Well, Howard, look, at the minute, obviously, she's taken part in Dancing with the Stars. I guess you're supporting her from afar at this point.
Yeah, we Zoom every night, and of course I'm voting, and it's been very exciting watching her, and I'm very proud of her. You know, she's not at the top of the scoreboard, but she and Pasha both have felt that in each of the performances, they did the best they did of any of their practices, and so she's very happy with that. And you know, we'll see if she can last another week.
Well, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. That's the way to look at Dancing with the Stars. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today, Howard. Thank you so much.
Pleasure to be on.
Wow, that
was a lovely man. I know, yeah.
Oh,
I completely changed my mind.
I was obsessed with that
Yeah.
show. And, what a lovely man.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it would just be so interesting, because he was really interesting, to just hear Carole's side on it, actually, wouldn't it? Because I didn't realise that they felt so manipulated by it. Can you imagine how hard that must have been to have sat down really thinking it was one thing, and then it was completely a different thing? Well, I mean, their claims are that it was a completely different thing.
Well, we did get in touch with Netflix actually quite a few times regarding those claims from Howard, and they have declined to comment. One of the things that really struck me as well is that, there's all the headlines around the world, and you know, she's almost become a bit of a caricature. But you forget, this is a couple that someone hired a hitman.
I know.
To come and kill her.
Yeah.
Imagine how any of us would feel in a loving relationship, that there is someone out there who has hired someone to come and kill you, and as a couple you're trying to deal with that, and then meanwhile something that you went into hoping was going to talk
help,
about help wild animals has
I
been
really
turned
felt
into
really
this cartoon.
very upset for him,
so did I.
actually, because
really did.
he's actually, when you hear about that, you know, somebody that would have come towards you and you would have been expecting something good, now every single person they have to think, is this a potential murderer? Because the FBI were involved
with
in
reality shows, is that you're at the hands of the editor. You never know, really. I mean,
come on, Carole, come and talk to us. We love the show. We want to hear what you've got to say. And we do love your husband very much.
We haven't even heard from you, Syra. You've just been sitting at home nodding. What did you think?
Well, I just can't get that image of their wedding day outfits out of my head. I mean, what? I mean, I quite like the fact that she had him on a lead. I thought that was a really good idea.
I think we still have him on a lead.
I think they were starting as they were meaning to go on.
I mean, look at that. It's unbelievable.
I'm going to buy a lead when I leave here.
There we are.